Hello and welcome to Taylor Talks Comics. Today we're going to cover recently released hardcover, Fantastic Four #1, panel by panel, by Chip Kidd and Geoff Spear. Alright, so longtime viewers of the channel, and judging by the backdrop here, you can tell that I love Fantastic Four. It's one of my favorite comic books of all time, particularly the Lee Kirby run. I think it's one of the great master classes of what you can do with superhero comics or adventure comics, sci-fi comics, what have you. And this just recently came out. First, please like and subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Comment down below with your thoughts. This just came out this past fall. I believe it came out in November, if I remember correctly. Still very much readily available. But this is a new version. So there is a previous version of panel by panel Fantastic Four #1 that came out, which I'll talk about. This is the one you want to have. This is the definitive edition. This book is one of my now favorite books I have in my entire collection. It's amazing. It's not a book for everybody. I don't think everyone needs to rush out and get it. And I'll describe exactly why I love it so much, and if that matches up or aligns with things that you love in your book collections, then by all means, I'd recommend picking this up. So, just real quickly, I'm going to show off the book itself. This is the spine. You get the characters of Fantastic Four there. This is done by Abrams ComicArts, and it has the names of the creators here. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, obviously did the original material. This book was produced by Geoff Spear and Chip Kidd. Here is the back of the book. And just to show you off the trim size real quickly. Here's a single issue standard size comic. This is Rain Like Hammers by Brandon Graham. You can see it's taller than and wider than your standard comic book trim size. And also to show off, here is the Fantastic Four Omnibus, which reprints the same material, but not in the same way, which I'll go over. So it's like the exact same height. I guess maybe this will show the height better. Exact same height as an Omnibus, but you can see it's much wider than, so I try and get this on camera, much wider than, but same height. And I'll do a little comparison too with that Omnibus. So what is this? I guess I have more to show off with the book design real fast. So this is really cool too. The dust jacket actually folds almost all the way to the spine here. Like it's not just your typical flap, much wider than. And it's the same on the other side, where you get Reed Richards. And you can see it there, a little bit of a glare. And this book is the whole book design. Like this is like a masterclass in how to design books, which Chip Kidd is a master of. Like there are very few book designers that have names of recognition like Chip Kidd does. So this is a great front cover. This is like the small little panel you see. I guess it's right here, to show you a comparison. So on the front cover of Fantastic Four #1, you see like this square panel featuring, and it shows you all the people, the characters, that they just chose that whole blown up for the front cover, which is cool. And then the spine has the lettering of the Fantastic Four, and the back has like torn corner, but then like, it's just like that spot right there blown up, basically, which is really cool. And then the end papers too, obviously the iconic conclusion to Fantastic Four, not the conclusion, but the joining together as a team. And then the front end papers is the blown up image of the first page. I love when end papers do something different on both the front and back. So what is this? This is basically this book. The purpose of this book is to take Fantastic Four #1, the iconic issue, and to show it off panel by panel. So they take every panel. They took an actual old copy of like an original issue, original printing of Fantastic Four #1, and they just like photographed it and blew it up, and each page shows off a panel of the book. So you can see, maybe I should just have this Omnibus open up to this page. Probably do a lot of comparisons. You see like the spine though of the dust jacket is just what you see up there. Let me see here. I wish I had a smaller copy rather than the Omnibus, but so you see Marvel's edition here. The reprinting is on like the white glossy paper. The colors have been touched up, and this is like their Masterworks edition of this reprinting. So it is like the best quality that Marvel's going to produce for you. But it is on white glossy paper. They do touch up the colors to try to match what they do here. But one thing I love about old comics is the aging process, where it ages on this white and like the newsprint, like yellows, and you get that here. And they just blow it up. So if you ever had a Chip Kid book, you know that one of his techniques is to take a comic book panel and blow it up and make it look really big. And like you'll see it for the in papers usually. This whole book is that. And I think one of the cool processes of it, if you have the original, or they came out with another edition, I don't know who printed it, it might have been Marvel. It was a panel by panel Fantastic Four #1, but it was on white glossy paper. It looked just exactly like this Omnibus, but the panels are blown up. That doesn't really show you like what the artwork looked like, and it's not really a historical document. Like this even has like, you can even see like the page, the aging of the page right here. This is just a photograph. A very great photograph, the best quality photograph you're ever gonna get, but just a photograph. So this becomes like a new way of consuming this material. You can see like this is like a 400-page book. And there's some great material in the back, which I'll get to. But you're reading one issue of comics, one like 22, 24-page issue of comics, but you're reading it one panel at a time. So it's like almost becomes like a picture book at that point. But you get like even like the reproduction, like the Ben Day dots, how they had to reproduce the colors back then, or print the colors. And then you do get some of it cut off, but that's a technique that he used. And one thing I want to point out for that is like, because not all the panels would fit on the page. So like, the thank you, I will get out of here, okay, is then cut off over here. And the reason why he did that was because he didn't want to have like this odd white space here, which you get on the original edition of the panel by panel that came out, which again, like this is the one to own, like not that one. Because that one, not only was it on the white glossy paper, it's just produced just like Marvel does here, but it would have like this blank spaces. So if the panel would only fit on one page, like this panel would only fit on one page, this would just be white negative space, of white glossy negative space on that production. I don't think that's the way to do it. I like the way that this is done. Because even like down here, like you don't lose this content. Like this content will be produced on another page wherever it fits. Let me see. Yeah, so like those words, the Fantastic Four, what can they mean, is down here. You don't lose that content. So like looking at this thing like, oh, that's cut off, I don't get the whole story. You do get that whole story. Like it will show up somewhere else. They just didn't want to have that awkward negative space on the page, which I appreciate. Because it's not easy. It's not like every page can fit one panel, no problem. The panels are all different sizes. They can't just fit on the same page the same exact way. So I love the way that they did that. But just flip through some more. Like just seeing like the thing bust through this wall for the first time on this blown up page, like it's so cool. Like Jack Kirby is the greatest comic book artist of all time. So to see his artwork like this blown up and like given this kind of treatment is amazing. And just seeing like Johnny Storm and fixing the car. He sees like the signal. Like this isn't gonna be like a review of Fantastic Four #1, which is one of the greatest comic books of all time. from one of the greatest runs in comic books of all time. But I just want to show off some of the cooler aspects of what this production does. Like you see the thing ripping the tree out. Where's the... Okay, here's them on the... running to get onto the ship illegally, the rocket ship. This is a famous image right here that I love this panel in Fantastic Four. Let me go and show off here. I feel like if anybody retells the origin of the Fantastic Four, it's got to be told with this panel redone from that angle. I don't know why. I feel like that's like the all-encompassing image of Fantastic Four. Here it is. Here's the Marvel reproduction. So you can see like just the size comparison of the panel you get here. This is an oversized omnibus. This is already Marvel expanding the art, blowing it up to oversized. And you get the one panel. This is how you get to appreciate Jack Kirby's artwork that much blown up. But yeah, like this is like the last time Marvel didn't have superhumans. Was this image right here. That's why I think that's why this panel is so important to me, because it is important to the overall landscape of comic books. Because after that, they get the cosmic rays raining down on them. They crash the ship, and their lives in the world of comics is never the same again. That's the significance of Fantastic Four #1. Yes, DC Comics was doing superhero comics, but Marvel and what they did in the Silver Age really changed things. And it wasn't in the sales. I mean, the sales were great, obviously, for these, but DC was still beating them in the sales for the majority of the 60s, but it caught on in a big way. They even keep the ads in here, which is amazing. I love that. Just the historical significance of these stupid ads that people would buy stuff from. And then here's the Fantastic Four Meet the Mole Man, the next chapter of that issue. And more ads, which is great too, that like, so this panel wouldn't fit on the page, so why not show off one of the ads to fill in that space? Like these ads didn't, Chip Kidd talks about it in the book, this doesn't take place on that page, but he used it to fill in that space, part of it too. So it becomes like an amazing like zine almost, if you're into like the punk rock underground zine culture. It's kind of like how this is laid out, which is just awesome. Good job, Monster. But you'll never see Jack Kirby's artwork in this format. Like, yes, there's been books that have bigger formats. There's art books that have his original art in it. I don't know if the original art exists for Fantastic Four #1. I don't know if that's ever been reproduced or reprinted in that format. Let me know in the comments. I do want to get some of those books. I do need those, but just incredible artwork. Fighting the Mole Man. I don't want to show off the whole book. I think it's my new favorite way to read this issue, though. I will tell you that. I don't think there's a better way to read it. So, that's not all, though. Yes, this is the end of that issue, but that's not all. Just one more time, I want to show off the comparison here before I get to the cool stuff of the back matter. All right. So I guess let me move this over here. This is the last panel of the book right here, and that panel is right here. So again, you'll never be able to appreciate Kirby's artwork in this format of this great high quality photograph of the original comic. Because think about it too, like if you ever get your hands on a Fantastic Four #1, it's likely going to be slabbed in a CGC container or whatever, plastic CGC slab. You're probably not going to feel comfortable reading it. I know I wouldn't, even though I don't collect CGC books. So this is like the best way you can read that. But the back matter is great too. So again, if you're into comic book history, this is super, just amazing book. So this is Chip Kidd talking about why this project came together. He even mentions the previous book, I guess, okay, so 2005 was called Maximum Fantastic Four. And that was the panel by panel. And he talks about why he didn't like that one. He didn't understand the choices they made and the way they produced that one, which is, I mean, interesting insight. And then talks about some of his other projects he's worked on. Then you get Tom Brevoort talking about the historical significance of Fantastic Four #1. And you get a page-by-page commentary. And this is great, too. So this is a page-by-page commentary. I think it's by Tom Brevoort. Is there a... Let me see here. Commentaries by Tom Brevoort, Mark Evanier, and Chip Kidd. Maybe Mark Evanier writes this one. I wonder if... I just don't want to get it wrong here. I don't know if there's a... Yeah. I think it's by Mike Evanier. But he does a page-by-page commentary. And this is cool, too. So you see, like, the small picture of the artwork. The same exact issue they took. Like, the same physical copy they took pictures of. These are the pictures kind of shrunken down. And he does, like, a page-by-page commentary of the choices that Kirby made. And this is interesting, too, because Mark Evanier is, like, the definitive, like, Kirby biographer. He was in Kirby's art studio a number of times back in the day, kind of learning from him and that kind of thing, and talking to him on a near daily basis. So he's one of the great biographers of Kirby. So what's great about this is he makes comments sometimes about, like, Kirby never really did this panel layout. He might have taken this idea from, like, a DC Comics, or he's trying to match up what they were doing with DC superhero style, like right there. Or talking about how, like, yes, this is Kirby, something he did in Challenge was unknown previously. Just a lot of great insight, page by page commentary, which is fantastic. And then you get an original reproduction of the art, the cover, even with the paste ups and stuff. So maybe that does exist, the original art of this issue. I just know a lot of the original art for Kirby's disappeared into, allegedly, maybe into Stan Lee's old vault. Who knows? This is a commentary on the cover, like just alone the cover, and how significant that was, how eye-catching it was. Here's the origin story of Mark Evanier, writing about how it came about. So maybe Tom Brevoort did write the page-by-page commentary. Someone correct me in the comments if I got that wrong. But either way, you get Mark Evanier's commentary. This is an outline of the issue, and this is controversial too, because I just recently read listened to the audiobooks for the Untold Story of Marvel Comics and the True Believer, The Rise and Fall of Stan Lee. And I can talk about that later, but one of the things about that is that this outline never existed. It was like who came up with the idea of the Fantastic Four? Was it Kirby or Lee? Blah, blah, blah. That's a whole conversation for another day. The important thing about this outline, though, is that this implies, this is something that Stan Lee produced and showed to, I believe, Mark Evanier. I was like, here's the outline for Fantastic Four #1, kind of showing that it was his idea, or these ideas were his kind of thing, but nobody is 100% sure if this was written prior to Jack Kirby doing the art for Fantastic Four, or if it was done in hindsight years later. I'm not here to comment on what I believe on that, but this is a weirdly historical document, the outline. And then here's the contributors, little bios of them, and then, don't worry, we're not done. We get the photograph piece of the issue right here, page by page, in the normal format. So we can do some great comparisons here of how Marvel produced it. So Marvel's edition here, yes, it's much brighter. The art's cleaned up. It's on white glossy paper, but this is the original edition. This is what you would buy. You even see the staples in it. It's aged because it's like a 60-year-old comic at this point. I know people have different opinions on this. I love the comic book I love the aged newsprint paper of it. I also like reading this too. This doesn't affect me in any way. This isn't bad. I think the Taschen's doing some. They just came out with the Amazing Spider-Man book, which is like even way bigger, and it collects like the first 20 issues I think of Spider-Man, including like AF-15 and the annual. And the way they produced that was by taking pictures. It's all photographed from actual comic book issue. And I don't know if this is like the best edition that Chip Kid could have come up with. I feel like a little part of me feels like he purposely picked a more aged edition because it is like more yellowed and whatnot. So it's not the cleanest way to read it. Like, yes, maybe this is easier on the eyes because it's brighter and whatnot, but this gives you like nostalgia, like that newsprint. Like you go to like back issue bins, I'll see it, and then Marvel doesn't keep the ads in there. The ad was on this page. So now we're right here. Oh, geez. On that one, I don't know if you can see that all. So now we're gonna be on opposite pages. The nostalgia of the newsprint, like if you go back issue bin diving, like you're gonna be getting some of that newsprint quality. I don't want to show off every page here, but let's do this origin page here of them crashing their ship. Just some comparison there. So let me know in the comments what you prefer. If you prefer like the brighter colors of Marvel's reprints to the old aged look, or if you like the newsprint look. Let me know if you're collecting those Taschen books. I personally think that I love the way they look. I haven't bought one yet myself. I will show it off on this channel the second I do. They are pricey, but if they collect the whole Lee Kirby run of Fantastic Four in that format, I think I'm gonna get it. But regardless, this was panel by panel by Chip Kidd, Geoff Spear, original story and artwork done by Stanley Jack Kirby. A great artifact in comics, I believe. Well-produced book, amazingly produced book. Like I said, it's one of my favorite books in my collection now, just for the piece of history that it is, and it's one of my favorite comics I've ever read. The cover price is $40, so you can find it cheaper on other websites and whatnot. But let me know in the comments if you're going to pick this up, if you like this format. Let me know if there's a single comic book issue that you wish was in this format, panel by panel. I'd love to hear those comments. I think it'd be interesting to do an AF-15 like this. I think maybe an issue of Watchmen would be kind of cool in this format. I know Chip Kidd did do the Watching the Watchmen book, so that'd be kind of cool. But let me know what your single issues that you'd like to see in this format are. If you're picking this book up, why you don't think this book is necessary, why you love this book. Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for future videos. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.